Our next big boss lady does actually, or would actually not need any introduction because we're very sure you know her already. So Sunnie, she is an entrepreneur, an author, a multiple times board member, and a frequent speaker. She is a founder and the CEO of Inspire 9 to 5, which is a consultancy that dedicates for change management, employee empowerment, and digital transformation. She's a board member, I said multiple times board member, at 3 medium-sized companies in the IT, the media, and the engineering sector. And she does even more, so she likes to educate the leadership and wants to bring them more digital skills. That's why she co-created an executive MBA in digital leadership at HWZ, where she is an associate dean of studies. Before that, you might have heard from her the first time when she was a managing director, the first managing director of Digital Switzerland, the largest cross-national campaign for more digitization in Switzerland. She wrote the book Inspired at Work, which gives you 66 life hacks, what you can do better in order to have a very inspiring working environment. She belongs to the top 50 who is who in Digital Switzerland, by Handelszeitung, the 30 under 30 list on Forbes, and the top 100 women in business. She graduated in econ from Yale. Sunnie, it's a pleasure having you.
Well, thank you so much for this very kind introduction. I blushed more than once. And I have to excuse, I'm bringing a glass of water because my voice is a little tough today because I got a cold. But other than that, I'm very excited to be here.
Good to have you here. And Sunnie just came from a board member meeting, so that's why she just came here.
Just in time.
Just on time. Yeah, good to have you here. So it's wonderful. So let's start with the short set of questions. With whom would you love to have dinner?
Living or dead?
Living.
Like how long is the time span?
Let's do living.
Living. I'd love to have dinner with Tony Shai, the founder of Zappos.com.
Oh, cool. What's your favorite occupation?
In terms of professional or hobbies?
Either professional or hobby, something you love doing.
I love playing basketball, and I love running, and I love being an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. You're active on social media. Is there one person that you love to follow most?
Ooh, tough. I mean, one person sitting right there. Love Patrizia's forward tweets and her. She has a way of putting things right to the point, as a journalist should, and I appreciate that in her.
Yes. Is there a living female person that you admire most? A female role model?
Many. I mean, I think there's so many. One, I mean, depends a little bit on what category. I think the Prime Minister of New Zealand has been doing some incredible work in terms of being a role model. There's Jessica Livingston, who's, to me, a fantastic author / co-founder of Y Combinator. And Y Combinator, as some of you might know, is a program that helped Airbnb, Dropbox, Reddit, and so many other incredible tech companies succeed in the early days when people did not yet believe that they would become what they ended up becoming. And Jessica actually, I attended Y Combinator with a startup as a first employee, and she's sort of the social rater. She's the person who can figure out who's incredible at building companies before they actually have all the proof and business model and everything figured out. And she really is the person to believe in the people. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, what sets a lot of Y Combinator apart. So I think in a way, even though Paul Graham gets a lot of the rep for Y Combinator, she's his wife. And I actually think the secret sauce is more Jessica than it's Paul, but it's just between us.
Nice. So you're a managing director, a board member, and you were in those positions early on. Was there a particular advice that you received that helped you to get there, or how do you stand about career advice?
I mean, someone once said advice is sort of a form of nostalgia, in the sense that it just builds on your own experience and you're just dispensing it. You're dispensing your experience in a more acceptable way, an accessible way. So I think everything with a grain of salt, right? What works for me won't work for someone else, and vice versa. The board memberships, this was not something that I had planned out from day one, or it's something that happened for a set of circumstances. And I think in those moments where opportunities presented themselves, I grabbed them by the horns and went for it. And so maybe that is a piece of advice, that you should just go for it. I think if the opportunity's there, there's just so much thinking you can do, and then at some point you decide and you see what happens, and you try at every point of the way to do the best you can. And you put, if you go for something, then go for it, and as in pour your heart into it, and see where that takes you.
Yeah, and it took off for you. When we had lunch, I remember you told me that somebody advised you, first work 10 years, and then you're ready for a startup.
The piece of advice, I did not appreciate that much. Well, yeah, that's why I'm also critical. What worked for this person will not work for me, and vice versa. So there's just so much you can get from advice, and then there's your life story that you will live on your terms. And so this one particular person was a business coach working at an entrepreneurship center in Zurich. And since I was starting out, I felt that it was probably a sensible thing to get advice. I was 25 at the time. And I sat down and I sort of showed him early plans of Inspire 925. And, just like I was saying, early stage company plans, some of them sound good and some of them don't. And most likely you're anyways going to change a million things as you go. So there's really only so much that this early plan can tell you anyways. But this person made, of course, a call about it, because as an expert, that is what you do. And his particular view was, and this is, imagine a male, fairly large beer belly, sitting me down saying, well, you don't even know how deals are made. Deals are made in the bar with my buddies. And I'm like, yeah, that's true for you, but it's not exactly necessarily true for me. I didn't have that confidence at the time, but and I had to think about this for a few hours and, go back home and shit, maybe he's right and he's so much older than me, and probably he does get all his deals that way, and what am I gonna do? I don't even like beer, shit, So, that's unfortunate. And I think that's also part of why I think, some advice is really valuable and obviously well meant. And it's not that he wanted to give me bad advice. It's just that advice didn't apply. And so at the end of the day, it's still you're in charge of your life, and you need to make the call on which advice is valuable and worth applying. And there's a lot of advice out there that is valuable and worth applying. But there's also a lot of advice out there that is great advice because basically it worked for that one person in his one situations, and it's just a form of experience dispensed as nostalgia that was offered to you that you should probably just leave there.
That's also a good advice, yeah. Don't take advice too seriously. One more question for you. So, what, if you leave advice aside, what type of competences do you think were so important for you that helped you getting where you are today?
I mean, it's always difficult to judge, what was really at the end of the day the decisive piece, because a lot of it is in combination. It's combinations of things. I think especially in the tech world, it's a lot about interdisciplinarity and diversity of disciplines. I think for me, and Steve Jobs has this beautiful thing where he says, you really only connect the dots in hindsight, and I'm still building out the dots, so I'm probably not that good at connecting them just yet. But I think what definitely helps is a curious mind, to keep a curious mind. I think there's maybe the sort of 20th century model of like leadership by answers, where like the leader has all the answers all the time and he just knows it all. But we're in the 21st century, and I think in the 21st century, leadership is by questions. It's by being capable of asking the right questions. And so I think for me, it's been incredible to essentially keep this curiosity through it all. And there's a lot of sometimes even educational systems which actually work against that. They don't always, foster creativity and curiosity. They sometimes actually take it out of you. So I think that's really key to keep that. I think the other piece is, I think it's incredibly important to what Simone said. You have to make sure that you channel your energy towards things that that are really you. Because it's so cliche, but there's really just nobody else that can do you better than you. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, being clear on that and having clarity has helped me a lot. There's advice out there which says, you should only focus on one thing. I mean, look at my bio. It just really doesn't work that way. I feed off of multiple things, and multiple things, I think, make me actually better at every single one of those things. So I think if you would push me to only do one single thing, I would lose a lot of what I'm bringing to the table. But that's true for me. It's not true for everyone. So I think that's something that's helped. And then I think at the end of the day, we have energy, we have curiosity, and I think then there's the entrepreneurial gene or spirit or attitude that in many moments when there was, this is how it should be done, and this is the rules, and these are the standards, and this is how the process works. There's always the entrepreneurs like, well, what if we did it differently? Like, what if that is not true? Like, what if you do not need 10 years to start a company and get experience first? What if that's just something society tells us, but that's actually no longer the case? So this sort of what if, and then once you have an answer for yourself, or even just an assumption, it's like, all right, well, let's assume it's not true. What would I need to do to test that? And then you just keep on iterating off it. I mean, it's very tech. And I think that is something that I took also out of my time in the US when I lived there, where it's just go do it. Just try to make it happen. There's really no point of walking around with an idea for freaking ever if you're not going to try it. So that's probably an attitude that's helped, I think.
Well, awesome. Thank you very much, Sunnie.
Thank you,
We'll hear
too.
more from her later.
Thank you.